Okay, so we're on this topic. What do you think? And you said you weren't going to disclose what you think dreams are, but why not? What do you think dreams are? I have
Well,
some great ideas as well, so I'd love to hear yours.
I think that maybe I think that maybe the whole idea of like astral projection and remote viewing and things like that. I think that is possible. I think that there are other realms of existence or parallel universes or whatever you want to call it, things that we don't understand yet. I think that somehow, if it is true that we have, an eternal soul or an eternal consciousness or eternal life force, whatever you want to call it, if that is true, then, they could be memories from parallel universes or, just interacting with other pieces of your own consciousness in other parallel universes, or
cool.
Who knows?
A Kodega is a guide and a storyteller, escorting you through the night, lighting the way, warding off thieves, ghosts, demons, and other oddities. Along the journey, his companions would often share with him the most curious of stories that he'd record in his codex. Perhaps you just might find yourself traveling with a Kodega and sharing one of yours. Click that like. Yeah! If you're new here, subscribe and have the bell hit for notifications to stay up to date on all of the new content.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. It's Ra here with Kodega's Codex of Curiosities, your guide on this journey. Tonight's curiosity, we're going to be jumping into some paranormal experiences, and who knows where that's going to take us. Like always, our conversations, our interviews always have they have legs. They just head off in different directions, and we'll see where this takes us. That being said, I just want to say thank you to everybody for subscribing, hitting that like button, and commenting. It means a lot. Also, if you yourself have had any experiences, please feel free to email me, codexofcuriosities@gmail.com, or look me up on Facebook, Ry Voss. I have a Facebook group there as well. I'm on Reddit as well. What else? I'm on Rumble now too. So have a look on Rumble, and you'll find my channel there, and make sure you hit the subscribe there. Also, if you're looking to support the channel, a couple of ways to do that. Sharing the video, sharing the channel means the world to me, and it's free, and it does so much. Also, we can subscribe to a Patreon. I have a couple tiers. I have a $5 tier. I have a $25 tier. $25 tier is going to get you lots of merchandise and perks. And speaking of merchandise, I do have a merch store as well. So check me out on Printify. Links are all in the bio. You can't miss it. Whatever you want, I got it. Also got an Amazon wish list too. So if you're feeling really generous, there's some items I could use, and it would make the show just a little bit better. And it already is pretty decent, especially with you guys, my listeners, my viewers watching us. So tonight, we're going to go a bit of an anonymous. We got Mr. X coming on to share some of his experiences. So with that, let's bring on Mr. X.
Hi, Ry. Thanks for having me.
Good. Great to have you too. I know we're kind of little issues with our time zones and whatnot, but hey, we made it work, and we got you here. So why don't you tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself, and let's go from there.
All right. I'm nobody. I'm just a guy, nothing special about me. I'm not, I got a regular job. I got some kids, and, just trying to make it all work and pull it all together.
Just an average Joe who's had some above average experiences.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, when you share experiences with people, you get to hear their stories too. And I find that I've had more than my share comparatively
Oh
than
wow.
other people.
Okay.
So
Well then why don't we just dive right into it and maybe tell us like where it all began. Let's start at the beginning maybe and go from there.
sure. So I guess I didn't really start thinking about it a whole lot until I was maybe 18 or 19 years old. Just trying to figure stuff out, and didn't really see any empirical evidence. And everybody around me and the things that I was exposed to pointed to that we were the only life in the universe. And so I just kind of accepted that.
Yeah.
And was pretty skeptical of anybody who opposed that, that they were just making it up or whatever. And didn't really think much of it after that. Just kind of made up my mind and went about my life. And then one day I'm driving down this long stretch of highway, and I see this star in front of me, like just above the road, and it's just sitting there, and it just seemed like extra bright, And so I'm watching it because it's right in front of me, and I'm just watching it, kind of amazed how bright it is, and it just goes straight up like unbelievably fast. And I would say that that's the first time that I really thought that there could be something else out there, something weird going on.
How old were you at that time? Like what year, if you can remember, or age?
I think I was about 19.
19.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where it all began.
Some time ago. That's where it all began. And then, not a whole lot happened. Had some weird dreams sometimes and stuff. Like, I won't get into that. Those aren't really highlights. But
no, seriously, by all means, let's get into that.
Okay, so
I've had some crazy dreams that we get into. So by all means, please go ahead.
Personally, I think dreams are fascinating, and I think it's even more fascinating that we have no idea what they really are, why we have them, or whatever. Yeah. I've got my own theories, but I won't get into that. But so the dream that I had this one time that was significant to me was I didn't take naps. Like, I wasn't ever a nap guy, Yeah. And so I take this nap in the middle of the day randomly, just felt extra tired. And I have this really vivid dream that I'm on board this ship, okay, a UFO, a craft, right? Mm-hmm. And if you can imagine, like the deck of the Star Trek Enterprise, how it's got like that railing ring in the middle, kind of similar to that, but a lot more simplistic, right?
Okay.
Like not really a lot of consoles or anything, really simple. Yeah. And so I'm on one end, like you could say where Spock is sitting. And then on the other side, there's two probably grays, short grays. And they're facing away from me. They're looking at the side of the ship. And the thing is that wherever you looked at on the inside of the ship turned transparent. Okay. So you could see outside of it. And we approached this planet, and it's this big, like sand-colored planet. And I was thinking to myself, like, where am I? Like, what am I doing out here? And when I had that thought, my perception zoomed out to third person, mm-hmm. so that I could observe the outside of the ship. And it's like the ship like connected to my consciousness and told me that, it was a craft and that it had been traveling through space for an exuberant amount of time. And because it looked like, from the outside, it looked like a comet. And the ship explained to me that it looked that way because it gathered particles from all of its travels, this repeated circle around this solar system, wherever it was. And so anyway, I go back into a first person perspective, and I'm looking at this planet as we're approaching it, and I'm still like mentally connected to this ship, and it scans this planet, and it just dumps every bit of information about this planet that you could even imagine into my head. And it was all navigable too. So like I could like mentally traverse the whole planet, like inside and out, every bit of surface. I knew everything about the planet, all the molecular structures of all of the materials that were on the whole planet. It was an incredible, indescribable, large amount of information. And so I have this dream, and it was, a vivid, weird dream, but I really didn't think a whole lot more of it because, they're dreams, right? They're weird. So fast forward 15 years later, and I'm watching this show, Cosmic Disclosure, which you may or may not have seen.
I have not.
It's all right. It's
something maybe I should check out.
Yeah, maybe. It's like, whistleblowers and people who've had experiences. Anyway, there's a part in there where this guy describes when he was a kid, he knew some people and ended up inside of Area 51, and they had a downed ship, and he went inside of it and touched it. And the thing is like the way he described his experience when he touches the ship, the way he described how it dumped all the information into his head, like tons of information, it was just really similar to what happened in my dream 15 years ago, like, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of wild.
And was that like a aha moment, or like,
yeah, it really was
almost like, oh my gosh, yes.
Like our language fails me to describe to you how profound that was for me. Mm-hmm. I'll never be able to convey to other people, like, because of the way how accurately he described that situation was just too much of a coincidence sort of situation.
I completely understand. I've had situations like that myself. Okay, so we're on this topic. What do you think? And you said you weren't going to disclose what you think dreams are, but why not? What do you think dreams are? I have some great ideas as well, so I'd love to hear yours.
I think that maybe I think that maybe the whole idea of like astral projection and remote viewing and things like that, I think that is possible. I think that there are other realms of existence or parallel universes or whatever you want to call it, things that we don't understand yet. I think that somehow, if it is true that we have, an eternal soul or an eternal consciousness or eternal life force, whatever you want to call it, if that is true, then, they could be memories from parallel universes, or, just interacting with other pieces of your own consciousness in other parallel universes, or
cool.
Who knows?
we don't, and that's all we can do is just speculate. And I love I love your speculation on it. I think that's fantastic.
So anyway, so that wasn't really, one of the most significant experiences that I had. One of the most significant experiences, which was several years after I had this dream, was I moved into this house. We called it the Rabbit Hole. It was a buddy of mine and his band and like a bunch of our friends just like crash in this huge house for, months or whatever. And so I saw a ghost. Okay. So now like I know that like 3/4 of your audience is going to be like, nobody sees a ghost. Ghosts aren't real or whatever. Okay.
I would say 3/4 of my audience will say, oh yeah.
I hope so.
Yes.
I hope so. Okay. So like, that's the thing about experiences like this, is that like, I can tell you what happened, and like, it's not going to hit the same unless it happened to you. You know what I mean? Because like,
of course.
Like if you take everybody who's ever had an experience in the world throughout human history, and you put them all together in a pile, all these stories, like statistically, everybody can't be lying. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm not lying. Okay. So anyway, we're living in this house, just banging around and being friends and whatever. And so some weird things started happening that we didn't really understand. Like, for example, we weren't rich, you know, we all had minimum wage jobs. I worked at McDonald's, you know what I mean? So
Of course.
so like one of these days I was digging through the couch to scrounge up for change, you know, just scrounge up some money for cigarettes. Okay.
Mhm.
So, you know, I managed to get together, you know, whatever, $4 or whatever it was at the time. And the thing is that over a period of time, we got to talking about it, that I did this and other members of the house did this.
Like digging through the couch.
Digging through the couch to grab some change, right? For whatever, you know, to run to the gas station for a soda or to go get a pack of cigarettes or some candy or whatever.
Yeah.
But we started doing the math. Okay. And like, dude, it did not add up. You know what I mean? Like, it's not possible for that much change to be in the amount of couches that we had. Like, so that was a little bit strange. Okay.
Mhm.
But then other stuff started happening. Like one time we were having this little get together. You know, it wasn't even really a party. It was just we were playing spades, drinking 40s, just a small gathering. We were hanging out, right?
Yeah.
So I was saying something, you know, loud and funny as I was leaving the dining room, and I was going through the doorway to the kitchen, right? And so like there was music playing, so I had to, you know, talk over the music, and I had, you know, something funny to say. And so like I'm saying this amusing thing, leaning back and talking to the room, right? And I'm not facing the doorway. But as I hit that threshold, I ran into something or someone, but there was nobody there. Okay. But everybody saw it. And like, it was so strange because like nobody had any idea what to say. Like there was this 2 or 3 minute silence, just complete silence,
Mhm.
because we were like just flabbergasted, right? Speechless. Because everybody saw it happen. Like I literally, like, you know what it is? You run into a wall, man, you bounce off of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I ran into air and bounced off of it. Like, it was strange.
Now, this is intriguing because I've heard something like this before. Did it cause you any physical harm?
Not harm, but I felt it, and it didn't feel like a solid flat. It felt like it could have been a very tall person.
Okay.
Like I'm like 5'10", right? And so it felt like if it was a person, it felt like my head hit like the middle of their chest.
Wow. Okay.
So again, like when we were having that discussion about like all the pennies in the couch and stuff, and all the change in the couch, we started talking.
You can't get rid of that couch, man. That's an amazing couch. It's like it's a treasure. It's a treasure trove.
Yeah, right. The golden goose, right?
Yep, exactly.
So when we were having that discussion, we started talking about other situations, like you know, me running into the thing or whatever it was,
into something, yeah.
And so some of the other people who lived there started sharing their experiences. Like the owner of the house, he inherited it from his uncle, and he said that one time he walks through the front door, and there was like, you know, this little foyer, right? And you walk in the front door, and there's stairs that go up the wall, and then up the wall, and then up to a landing, right?
Okay.
And so at about a story. About a story high, there's a little, you know, those little like hexagonal windows.
Yes. Yes.
It says he walked into the house and he looked up there, and there was a face up there. Like there was a dude up there, right?
Okay.
And so he runs out of the house. He's like, "Who's got a ladder on the outside of my house? Who's messing around?" And I mean, you come out that door and you make an immediate left, and you can lean over the railing and see around the house. That's not enough time for somebody to get off a ladder,
of course,
take down the ladder and run away, and there's nobody there, you know, and you know, little weird stuff like that. one time I ran up to my bedroom to grab something, and you know how like you're kind of in a huff and you're like looking for something and you don't know
Yeah.
where it is, and you find it and you grab it and you run out. Okay. So I run up to the room, and when I crossed the doorway into my room, I had this little 13-inch TV, those old box TVs,
Yeah.
on the dresser next to my bed, and it just comes on. Okay. And like my immediate passive thought was I stepped on the remote and hit the power button and turned the TV on.
Of course.
Didn't
Yeah.
think about it again. Found the thing I was looking for, turned around, walked out of the doorway. As soon as I walked out of the doorway, the TV shuts off. And I'm like, okay, now I have to find the remote, right?
Yeah, of course. Exactly.
The remote was under the bed. Okay, weird. Not crazy, but weird. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the crazy thing that happened to me was there was a bunch of us. There was like 8 of us living in this house, right? And so it was a rarity to be home alone. And I found myself alone one night, and I was just reading a book. And so I technically had 2 small rooms that were connected together, okay, and then a hallway at the end of those 2 rooms. So I was sitting in my furthest back room on my bed, and I could see through the first doorway into the second room, through the second doorway, and down the hall. Okay. Now those stairs I was talking about earlier, they come up the foyer, and then that landing crosses right in front of the end of that hallway that I'm looking straight down. Okay. So I'm reading my book, sitting on my bed, and just over the edge of my book is where the end of that hallway is. Reading. And I see this little like 8 or 9-year-old kid run across the end of the hallway. And my immediate thought was like, we probably have like empty beer bottles and undumped ashtrays and stuff downstairs. It probably doesn't look great. Who brought a kid in this house? And I immediately got up and I'm like, hello, like, who's there and whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like my first reaction was like, why is there a kid in this house? There shouldn't be a kid in a party house, right?
Yeah.
So I walk through the 2 rooms, and I get halfway down the hall before I realize that there was not a sound made. Because this is an old house,
Yeah.
big wooden stairs.
Any movements on that, you're going to be hearing the.
I'm completely alone, and this just didn't occur to me right away, because like it's not something you think about. You see a person, and like, they're there, right?
Yep.
So I get halfway down this hallway, and I realize the door is super loud, didn't make a sound. All the stairs are super creaky and wood and old, didn't make a sound. The kid's running, and I didn't hear a thing. I didn't hear anybody holler downstairs, "Hey, I'm here," or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just froze, like in the middle of this hallway. I'd never like felt that way before. I had never felt real fear in my life until that moment. Because how is that possible? My brain is trying to come up with an answer, come up with a solution, and there's just nothing there. And so I'm just stuck in this loop. So finally, I decided like, obviously something really strange is going on, and I need to figure it out. So
as you do, yes.
You have to, right? You gotta try. So I walked down the hall, and I made a right turn. And when you make a right turn, there's 2 bedrooms. There's a bedroom on the right with a door that was slightly open, maybe a few inches open. And then on the left, there was another room that I'm sure at one time had French doors that were gone. Okay, so this was an open bedroom. Yeah. And I could see all in there. There was nothing in there. So for sure, whatever it was is in this other room. And I'm sorry to you and your audience and everybody, but I could not bring myself to open that door. I just couldn't do it, because this is what was going through my head at the time. If I open this door and there's a 9-year-old kid in there that ran all the way up the stairs and didn't make a sound, what do I do with that? Okay.
Fair enough.
And on the other hand, if I open this door and there's nobody in there, what do I do with that? So I turned around, went down the stairs, out the front door, and sat on a stone bench across the street for 2 hours in the cold until somebody else came home. I just couldn't do it, man. I just couldn't do it. I was not ready for something like that at that time in my life.
Now, was it also messing with your mind too, like this over influx of fear as well, possibly?
Yes, definitely. I think what made it so terrifying is that it was perfect. Okay. So like a trick of the light, there's going to be, imperfections and stuff, blah, blah, blah. A trick of the mind, you're going to be unsure. There was no doubt in my mind what I saw. I 100% absolutely saw this kid clear as day. All the physical mechanics were correct.
Yeah.
Gravity was correct. The lighting was correct. His clothes were correct. Everything fell correctly. It wasn't like blurry. It was legitimately just this kid. And then he was gone.
Jeez.
It was terrifying that it was that real. And like, you're always a little skeptical, right?
Yeah.
Even if you believe, even the believers who've never had an experience, like there's a little doubt in you. And then like something like that happens to you, and like there is no other explanation. For me, I'm sure there's somebody out there who can be like, oh, this happened and you're nuts or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, I was there and like, I know what I saw.
I know a lot of people would be like, oh, maybe you had a Caesar or something like that. Right. It's always something like that. They always try to discredit it like that. And it's like, no, it wasn't. This is what I saw. And there's no explanation to it. I think
actually in this day and age, I think that's the only proof you can have anymore. Because with AI video and all the things that we can do, like you can't trust anything you see on social media anymore. That's not possible.
I totally agree. I know social media is being inundated with all these AI pictures, and right now it's fairly easy to tell them apart because especially when you got the hands. Sure. The hands are all these long fingers.
12 fingers on one hand.
Yeah, and their eyes usually are kind of like this or something like that. But it's going to get better. It's going to get better. But and I know people post these things. It's like, oh, here's a picture of Bigfoot that was captured in 1920, and it's this, it's a sepia. It's sepia color.
Yeah,
but it's like
I know which ones you're talking about. And he's like 20 feet tall or whatever.
And you're like, okay, so this just resurfaced after no one knowing about it for 100 years.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, what a coincidence. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But so, sorry. Continue.
I think that if you want proof, I think you need to reach into the universe, believe in what you're doing, and genuinely ask for it. And I came to that conclusion much later on in life, fairly recently to now. Several years ago, a few years ago, I broke my arm and I was bedridden for like 8 months or something.
Oh, wow.
I did it outside of a cast, and it was clean through below the wrist, and so they were worried that it was going to mess me up and I wouldn't be able to use it right and stuff. And so they didn't cast it, and so I just I stayed in bed and held it still for 8 months. And
Jeez.
So yeah,
that's a little intense. Yeah.
I mean, but I don't regret it one bit, because like I have never, since I was 17, I started working, awful labor jobs because, as I said before, I'm nobody, right? I'm just average Joe. And so I've never taken time, right? I haven't had time. And I had some time, and I had a lot of time to do some self-reflection. And like I heard this thing on the internet, read this thing on the internet. The answers are always within, right? And
Okay. Yep.
and so like I decided that I was going to take my spiritual journey while I was laying in this bed and figure out the answers to these questions, like what is reality and what are UFOs and what's all this supernatural stuff, and try to explain some of the things that I had experienced and seen. And so
I like that. I like that. I like what you did there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was just what I needed. It was just what I needed. Yeah. And we all have problems, and like I had some anger issues, anger that didn't belong to me, that I needed to get rid of. And like this was a perfect opportunity to look inward and sort it out. And I wanted to know what inner peace was. I wanted to figure it out. So anyway, I'm running around Discord and all over the internet and on Reddit and reading everything I can. I got nothing but time, right?
Yeah.
And so I ended up in some great communities and learned a lot of stuff about a lot of different theories and explanations for supernatural things and whatnot. And I found Stephen Greer, which you may or may not. Okay, so
yeah.
All right, so this is, I guess this is the next highlight, right? So he's got this phone app for CE5. Okay.
Yep.
I can see you're familiar. So
I might know it. I might know it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, when they say there's an app for that, there's an app for it, right?
There's an app for that.
There is an app for contacting extraterrestrials. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I read about that, I was like, well, that's a bunch of bull. There's no way. There's no way. That's crazy, right? That's crazy.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm like, okay, here's how I'm going to do this. I'm like, so I'm going to get this app because I know that like it's $7, or it was at the time. It's probably more now.
Yeah.
So it was $7 at the time. And I'm like, you know what? $7 isn't that much money. Plus, you got a 24-hour return period. Okay. So I was like, okay, no big deal. Whatever. If it's stupid, I'll just get my money back. So I download it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to approach this like a jerk, right? I'm going to be genuine about it. And I'm going to give it an honest try because like there were positive reviews about it, people who had success and whatnot. So I tried it out and I did the thing. And let me tell you, you don't technically have to have the app to do this. Okay. He has conveniently packaged the resources that you need to execute what he is trying to convey to people to accomplish. Okay. But you can go to YouTube and find different ways to do this. Okay. So you don't have to have the app. You can still do this without the app. He just makes it convenient. Anyway, so I got the app and I did the thing. And so you play these tones, these frequencies. It runs through all these different frequencies for like 5 to 10 minutes, right? And then he does this guided meditation for like, I can't remember, 10 or 20 minutes or something, right? Puts you in a really relaxed state, open mind, open heart, whatever. So I did the thing and I was honest about it, right? And respectful of it. And I did it right. And I think it worked, okay? So like the idea is that after you do all the stuff, you gaze, right? You gaze at the stars and you wait for the thing to happen, whatever it's going to be. And coincidentally or not, what may have been meteors streak across the sky, right?
And you're like, saying meteors as in plural.
Multiple, many multiple. Like, we'll say like 4 or 5. Okay.
All
right. So like, now you could say, and they could have been meteors. I don't know. I know they weren't satellites because satellites don't go that fast, first of all. And I don't think they were meteors because they didn't have like that messy tail, that you see, and they didn't dissipate into like a small point and disappear like they're burning up. Okay. So you could say it was like a fast satellite with with a tail because it was so fast. Right?
Okay.
So anyway, I was like, okay, it's pretty incredible that happened like right after I did the thing. Okay.
Agreed.
And I will admit that. But, it could be, I still had doubt. It could be something else. It wasn't definitive enough for me. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it again. And the next time, I had my girlfriend with me so that it wasn't just me.
Yep.
And same deal. We did the thing, and I explained to her, I'm like, I'm trying to really do this. So I want you to be genuine about it too, and be respectful and give it an honest try, right? And she did, and she was very receptive of it, and she's really interested too, like me. And same situation, like we did the thing, and roughly 10 minutes later, like, and I'm like, it's a big coincidence, but it's just not definitive enough. You know what I mean? It's just not definitive enough. These streaks. And so I was like, okay, the idea behind this app is this. Stephen Greer says that, you are connecting to a collective consciousness. The idea is that you're connecting to a collective consciousness that spans across the universe, possibly into infinity, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we're all connected. Okay. So you are mentally, telepathically speaking to other life forms that are in the neighborhood or whatever. Okay. Okay. So I'm like, I want to ask very specifically so that I know what I'm seeing. Okay. And so her and I, we went out to outside of town, outside of the light pollution a bit, and we live, out in the sticks. And so that ain't hard to do. So we drive way out on this corn road in the middle of nowhere. Like you can see the glow of the city off in the distance. So we knew we were, and it was such a beautiful night. It was just crystal clear. I mean, so many stars, right?
Fantastic.
So we did the thing again. Okay. And part of the CE5 experience is that you set your intention. What kind of contact do you want to have? What do you want to do? What do you want from this? What is your intention? And so I very specifically set my intention. I want it to be, let's see, what did I say? Unmistakably extraterrestrial. Unmistakably a UFO, right?
Okay.
Okay.
I like that. I think that's great.
Yeah. Well, because like if I just say I want to see a UFO and they zip by, I mean, they held up their end. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we did the thing and we set our intention and we waited, and about 10 minutes later, we could see we were back to back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Roughly back to back. And we were looking at different parts of the sky. I'm looking over here. She's looking over here. And there was a point where I had turned and was looking at her section of sky. And at that time, this super huge bright light lights up the sky. And it was probably like a third the size of the moon. So like way too enormous for a star. Yep. Unmistakable. Okay, so here's the thing. It couldn't have been a satellite because
when you're talking that size, that's
it didn't move. It didn't move at all. It was completely perfectly stationary. It like lights up, it shines for it was like 3 to 5 seconds. And then shuts off. Okay. Nothing else around, nothing else except other stars that are also stationary. So I have never seen anything do that. So I looked it up.
Mm-hmm.
And there is something that happens with satellites called a satellite flare. Okay.
Okay.
Where it does light up like that, roughly that size. I think what we saw was a little bigger, but memories and whatnot. So the thing about the satellite flares is that they are every video I've ever seen of any of them, they're always moving.
Okay.
Every single one of them, it's always moving. I've never seen one that was perfectly stationary. And so I was like, all right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But
But I want more.
There's a but.
Yeah.
I still had some doubt. I did. Okay. Because of the satellite flare thing, like maybe it could be explainable. Maybe that one, you know, even when a satellite is like lined up with the rotation of the Earth, you can see it moving against the other stars, right?
Of
But
course.
somebody could say it was stationary because of whatever. Okay.
I guess fair enough. Yeah.
So so this last time that it worked, I was very specific. I did the thing, and this time when I set my intention, I asked for them to speak to me. I asked for them to
Oh,
to
jeez.
say
Okay.
something to me, and I just wanted them to say hey. Okay. Stupid, but just say hey. Okay. And
Yep.
and I said, I want you to say hey to me when I am alone. Nobody else is around.
Mhm.
Unmistakably you. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I said, I want you to do the same thing to my girlfriend. I want you to say hey to her when she is alone and nobody
Okay.
else is around. And then I want you to say hey to both of us together when we're in the same room and no one else is around. Okay.
Mhm.
So, like a couple of weeks later or something, I'm getting in my closet, same sort of like in a huff, getting something out of the closet. This one right here, actually.
Okay.
And I open the closet and I turn the light on and I grab the thing and I turn around as I'm turning around, like I get my back completely to the closet and I take that first step. And like, you know how like when you hear somebody behind you, you can like triangulate kind of where they are.
Of course.
Because you know you
Of
have two
course.
ears or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was, I have kind of a walk-in closet. It's not huge, but you can walk around in it.
Yeah.
And there's lots of clothes in there and it muffles sound. So like it couldn't have come from anywhere else. It was, I triangulated it. I could hear where it was. It was right behind me, right where one of the clothes bars run. Nobody could have been standing there. There wasn't anybody in there because of course I whip right around and there's nobody there. But it was a clear as day.
Wow.
Hey, you know, I had never, I saw a ghost. I've seen, you know, UFOs. I've had all kinds of weird stuff happen. And that shook me. That shook me because here's the difference between, like seeing that ghost and hearing a disembodied voice that you asked for in your closet is that like, it's one thing to believe in UFOs. Okay. It's another thing completely to know that something is out there, to know that there is a higher intelligence, like everywhere, observing us all the time, listening to us.
Yeah, the intelligence part of it really, really adds that level of I don't know, a freak on, I guess.
Yeah,
It kind of really freaks you out when that level of intelligence, you know, if it's just, you know, we see satellites going by all the time and it doesn't, you're just like, oh, it's nothing, you know, it's nothing. But
Yeah,
when
'cause-
something has some sort of consciousness or able to communicate in a way that you've asked it to.
Yeah, because we don't have the technology to pinpoint a voice at some point in space and just, you know what I mean? Like we can't just, we have to have like a radio or a phone or something, right? We can't just like put a voice at a point in space.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what ran through my head and it shook me a little bit. And so it shook me enough that I didn't say anything about it to her. And at this point, I had actually, like 2 weeks later, I had actually forgotten about like making the request.
Okay.
And then like, I don't remember if it was a few days or like a week later. It wasn't much longer after that. She's in the living room. She said she was bent down getting something out of her sewing kit in the living room in the corner of the room. And same thing, it's right behind her. Hey, you know. And she tells me all about it. And then that reminded me about my closet thing. I'm like, dude, me too, in the closet, and like this and that. And we're like, oh wow, that's wild. So
did you tell her about like your intention of that
I still hadn't remembered about it.
Okay.
I still had forgotten about it. Okay. So then like again, like a few days or a week or something, not long after that, we're in the bedroom and she's sitting on the bed over here. She's on her phone, social media, whatever. And I'm on my computer. I actually did some editing for another podcast for r/cryptocurrency for a while.
Okay.
And I was going through one of those episodes, and you're like chopping out nonsense and ahs and breathing and whatnot.
That's a lot of work. That's
the drill.
I have now forgone that. I'm like, I do that with myself with my own audio. On when I release it, just audio, I try to clean it up really quickly because I can.
Yeah. But it is. It's a lot of work. Yeah. It's a lot of work. You know what I'm talking about. So like I'm involved, right? And I had a piece. I had a piece of a clip that I was working on, and so I had headphones on. I had a different pair, one of the big gaming headsets, right?
Yeah.
So at this point in time, I didn't actually have any audio running through them. Okay. And she goes, "Did you hear that?" She goes, "Hey, did you hear that?" And like, I listened because I didn't have any audio running through it. So I just listened to the room without taking my headphones off.
Yep.
And I heard like rattling at the balcony door. I'm like, I thought to myself for a second, I was like, why would you ask me that? Like, that is obviously the wind. And I was like, kind of like conceited about it and mean about it in my head. I was like, how did you not know that was the wind? Of course that's the wind.
Okay.
And so I said it kind of like that too. I was like, it's the wind. And she goes, "No. Did you say hey?" And I go, "No, you said hey. You said, hey, did you hear that?" And she goes, "No, I didn't. I just said, did you hear that?" So we had both heard hey. She immediately responded and said, "Did you hear that?" And I assumed wrong that it was the wind.
Oh, so it was directly after she heard hey, she instantly said, "Did you hear that?"
And so it just blended together for me. I had the headphones on and I thought it was just her saying, "Hey, did you hear that?" So all three of those instances happened that I requested. The reason why I requested it like that, and like, then like it all came together and that was the final piece. And like, I remembered that I had done the thing and made the request. And I was like, how, right? The reason why I asked for it like that, the reason why my intention was request was so elaborate was because you can't explain that away.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And I'll tell you why too, because I looked it up.
Okay. Hold 1 second.
Sure.
My battery cable has come unplugged.
Do what you got to do. Yeah. Okay.
We left it right at like the climax too. It's like it's right at the climax.
It's okay.
And go.
So I looked it up, and because like at first I'm like, I'm crazy, like I'm schizophrenic, I've lost my mind, and I need to get checked out because you don't hear auditory hallucinations without there being a problem, right?
Yes.
There has to be a problem. Okay. But the thing is that you can have an auditory hallucination and I can have an auditory hallucination. Okay. But we can't have an identical auditory hallucination at the same time. Okay. At the same time, you can have a similar or almost identical, or maybe even what you would decipher as an identical auditory hallucination, but you have to plant the seed first. So that happens. Like somebody in whatever the loony bin or whatever you want to call it has an auditory hallucination, and somebody else hears it and has an auditory hallucination, and so on. Okay, but you cannot have an identical auditory hallucination at the same time as someone else. So I heard it independently, she heard it independently, and we heard it together. So that's why I asked for it that way, because to me, that is undeniable. That is undeniable. That is my definitive proof. And now I know. and I'll tell you, like I said earlier, like there is a big difference between believing in a higher intelligence and experiencing a higher intelligence. And
I agree.
It will zap all the doubt out of you, right out of you. It took me 8 months to digest and process that experience. That's how profound it was for me. And like, it's, again, like I said earlier, like you tell the story and like anybody can hear it and be like, yeah, well, you know, this could have blah, blah, blah. And
they tried to explain it away.
It's a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing to go through it and feel it and hear it. Cause like, how do you define reality? Right. And I've asked my friends this. I thoroughly, like you said earlier, you enjoy speculating. I love speculating. I love speculating and debating possibilities, existential conversations about reality with all my friends and stuff. And we explore possibilities. And that question has come up. How do you define what is real? And the most common answer that I get from people is my 5 senses, right? Mm-hmm. If I can see it and touch it and hear it or taste it, I don't know why you'd look an alien, but you get the idea. Your 5 senses, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so like, again, touching back on the AI thing, like, how are we going to be able to trust video proof, audio recordings, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, everybody cannot, it is statistically impossible for everybody to be lying. It's not possible for everybody to be lying. That's ridiculous.
Yep. I agree with you. Wow. I still can't get over, like what you're saying, you both heard the same thing at the same time. That's incredible. That is incredible.
So, this is why I wanted to come on your show and do this thing, is because if you're skeptical, but you really genuinely want to find out, then really genuinely ask the universe. Mm-hmm. It's weird, but they're listening. They'll hear you. Try it, because you're not going to eradicate that doubt until you have your own experience, in my opinion.
I agree. There's always that grain of doubt that you will have no matter what, if you haven't had your own experience. Once you've had your own experience, actually, even then when you've had your own experience, there still is that skepticism as well, which I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy to be skeptical. Don't believe absolutely everything, because there are some people, and I don't care what topic or genre, I don't know what to say, that you're in, there are always people who maybe are mentally unstable and tell these stories to try to gain attention, or they embellish on things that aren't really real, and there are people like that, but there are real people who've had these real experiences, and I myself have had many, many, many experiences as well. Mm-hmm. And it kind of, like you said, like the universe, ask the universe or listen. The universe will always tell you. Because I record on this rooftop here, and I was making a phone call to a friend, and I came out here on this rooftop, and I sat down. But as I came down and was about to make this phone call, I was told, and this is kind of crazy, but I was told to look up at the sky in this one specific spot. I can see the whole sky here, and it's this one specific spot. And so I sat down, I start talking, and I see this light start coming closer and closer, and it's getting brighter and brighter. And I'm like, well, it's probably an airplane, because there is air traffic. It's not much, but there is some air traffic.
Mm-hmm.
But then that light split off into two lights, and then they circled around. Of course, I'm not. They circled around, and then they came back together. And it was this, like, they formed this almond. They did kind of like this almond, this oval type of maneuver. Came back together, and then they disappeared. And then, like you said, you said like a shooting star. About 3 minutes later, not even, maybe 2 minutes later, a shooting star in that exact spot that I was, told to look at this spot.
Like it took off from there.
Like it just went through. It was just like, like you only saw a section of it, start and finish, just like that. Poof. And that is what I saw. And that was my second, I've had a couple of UFO sightings, but that's the second time that I saw, like, for sure 100% UFO while I was on the phone with someone. I was on the phone with someone else previously, and I'm like, you got to see this. This is incredible. But
I wasn't going to say anything about this one, but like, I, after, that stuff happened, like I'll go out on my balcony, like anytime, random times, and just look up. And last night, see, here's the thing is like,
oh, great. Last night. This is awesome.
I know.
Okay.
That's why I wasn't going to say anything, because it sounds totally made up. Right before I came on your show, I saw a UFO. You know what I mean? Like, I hear it, guys. I hear it. I know. But yeah, it did. And like, the first few times when I saw him, like that very first one that I told you about, that very first experience, like that's pretty definitive. Like it's stationary. And then it just goes, and you think about the speed it would take at that distance to go that far or that fast. And like, it's just not possible. We can't do that. And so those are the ones that I really enjoy seeing, because when they're expressing physical motion that cannot be replicated by any technology that we have.
Yes.
So like, zipping across the sky, maybe it's a satellite, maybe it's a meteor, but last night it curved. So like, it wasn't like a 90, it was just a smooth curve, and came around just above this apartment building here.
Really?
And, it's motion like that. That's what you got to look out for. Like, that's how you know it's
unconventional.
Unconventional
is what you're looking for. I could not agree more. Well, I know we're getting closer to an end, but I do have a closer to the end, to a end, I guess. I have a question. What do you think these UFOs are? What do you think this type of intelligence are?
I've over the years been through a lot of different theories, and prison planet, like stuff like that, we're being farmed for something, and all kinds of different weird stuff. But most recently, I would say, I don't know if necessarily this is what I firmly believe, but I think
I think we always can't firmly believe something in this concept. We always
nobody knows, right? Nobody knows.
Exactly. So that is okay. This is again
okay. So the most recent, most intriguing is that. So I've accepted because I hate sounding like I'm making stuff up. I can astral project. Okay. Yep. And like, I wouldn't say that I'm like an expert. It's not completely reliable, but I have done it, and I've been able to repeat it. And so I personally believe that there are other realms of existence. I think that there are parallel universes, or whatever you want to call them, that we can somehow project our consciousness into or onto or whatever. So I think that maybe we were created as a vessel to experience this plane of existence, and that we became sentient, that we instead of being just a car to drive, we created our own drivers. That maybe, have you ever read Andy Weir's The Egg?
I have not.
Oh, you got to check it out. It's a short story by Andy Weir. He did The Martian, Hail Mary, all those books. And so I won't get into the story. I'll let you read it for yourself. Everybody should. It's phenomenal. But the thing is like, I think maybe that we were created as however you want to say it, like God experiencing himself, or the universe experiencing itself, or higher dimensions experiencing this reality through some sort of physical media, which is us, and we were created for that purpose. And then while they were growing or developing us, either we were somehow like blessed with consciousness by some other life form, or spontaneously developed it, or something like that. I think that would be one of the most elegant explanations that I can think of.
I love it. I love it. I need to read this the short story, The Egg. That
Andy Weir, The Egg. Yes, please don't forget. Write it down. That's great.
All right. So I want to say thank you so much. It seems like a storm has just started brewing here, so I need to cut this short. Well, I know we're hitting the end anyhow. So I want to say thank you very much. And is there anything, I know we talked about this beginning, is there anything you want to promote before we close out here? Or say any final parting words or anything of the
parting words. Find your own proof.
Perfect.
Find your own proof, yeah. Because nobody is going to be able to tell you a story that's convincing enough to change your mind. Just experience it for yourself. Do whatever you can. Be honest, be genuine, reach out in the universe, listen, and find your own proof. That's it.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you so much. And we're going to talk in a little bit, okay?
All right. Thanks, Ray.
Thanks. All right, everybody. That was Mr. X with some paranormal, I don't know, the Golden Goose Couch, and some UFO and CE5. And I was showing that I have the CE5 app myself. I've never used it, actually. I bought it. I've never used it. I've never come to use it yet. After talking with him, I think I might give it a shot here. You know, I have this opportunity. I should. And with that, you know, as the night is closing in, the rain is picking up. I want to tell everybody, you know, make sure you keep your curiosity wandering, keep the light lit, and always find your way home.
I look forward to our next adventure together as we navigate the mysteries that lie ahead. Until our paths cross again, keep your curiosity wandering and ensure the light remains lit.